Hi, everybody. Welcome. I always want to know, should I go in at 12:28, 12:29? What should I do? Um, this is Tuesday, September 1st, another Leader Livecast. But today is really special because we're talking to not just a stunningly beautiful, but a very accomplished Indian American woman who left the practice of law to become an entrepreneur in the beauty and fitness industries. Her name is Shama Patel. She's headquartered in Chicago. And let me tell you, I see her right here. So let's see if I can ask her to join. Clean your dirty face. Let's send requests. What happens? Wait till you hear how we met. It was so much fun. You know, my name is Kim Marshall. I'm co-founder of Swell Public Relations, the owner of the Marshall Plan. Oh, you're upside down. I don't know how that
Oh,
happened. How are you?
good, good.
That
Let
was
me
really
get,
fun. I was going to talk about your aerial fitness, and you were doing it already, Shama.
I
Isn't that
think
funny?
it's because I have my headphones in. Let me see if I can take them off.
No, it's okay. It'll be fine. I want to
Much
brag
better.
about I want to brag about how we met. Um, since I'm in the world of PR, one of my clients under my original company, the Marshall Plan, was the Orlando Hotel, which is located on West 3rd Street in Los Angeles, which we called a walkable street in a city of cars. And for those listening, Shama chose that street for outlets of both her businesses. You had an aerial fitness on one end and a clean your dirty face on the other, right?
Correct. That's correct.
So it was flanked by two big shopping centers, the Beverly Center and the Grove, and you could miss it. You could just walk and go, oh, this is, or just drive through and say it's just another street in LA. But
Right.
no, it was filled with cool one-off and very unique stores. And yours were too. So Shama, tell us just define your two businesses for us, please.
Sure. So Aerial Fitness, our handle is AirFit Now, it's an aerial fitness company basically. So we really specialize in 50-minute workouts, and we have boutique fitness gyms, and we are there to really build your core. So every abs, everything, lower back. So that's really what we specialize in at Air. And then
And
we
let me butt in because it
Mhm.
makes you feel like a Cirque du Soleil dancer when you
Yes,
are hanging from these ribbons on the ceiling and you're doing
yes,
it. It
yes.
sounds impossible, but when you do it, you get emotional because it's so much fun. Anyway,
It
okay.
is. It's a lot of fun, and we obviously have a lot of cardio built into it. Music is really important, so our instructors are trained to keep the classes very energetic. And then we also have another company. So I have my skincare company, which is called Clean Your Dirty Face, which is obviously what we're talking about here. And we specialize in 30-minute facials. So you're in and out in 30 minutes, and we use all clean beauty products. Efficiency is very important, and we leave you with clean, radiant skin in under 30 minutes. Those are our two.
So when we first talked, I think you were doing a promotion. You wanted a hotel stay for some of
Yes.
your social media
Mhm.
followers. And I was like, look at this person's social media. It's so exciting. It's pink and yellow and bold and crazy. And
Mhm.
I love scanning through, but we'll talk about that more. But
Sure.
I really want to know why you thought there was a need for another beauty boutique, studio.
Right.
Why wasn't it already being covered?
Sure. So in 2015 is actually when I opened up the first Clean Your Dirty Face studio, and I opened it in Chicago. And it was really because of my own frustrations that I opened it. When I was a young professional, I guess I still technically am a young professional, but when I was a much younger professional, I really struggled with a lot of acne, and it wasn't acne like acne that required you to go to a dermatologist and be on like a very heavy, kind of skincare regimen. It was very basic things that were causing blemishes. And had I had a professional to tell me, hey, maybe don't put your phone right here on your cheek, or after you work out, it is helpful to use a toner to disinfect, just really little things like that I felt like could have resulted in me having better skin in my 20s. I didn't have. And so I opened up this facial bar, and I had Air at that time, the aerial fitness
Oh,
company.
you're right.
I had it, yeah. So I opened that in 2013. So it was a couple of years later that I opened up Clean Your Dirty Face, and I just thought this is such a great service for a demographic such as mine, who's on the go, wants great skin, but really doesn't know where to start. I want something affordable that I can fit into my schedule and my routine. So I just opened it, and clean beauty and natural beauty was very important to me. And it was something that really didn't exist in 2015. So we curated a lot of great natural brands on our shelves. And then we obviously then introduced our own brand as well. But so really it started from a necessity, from a frustration point as a consumer. And then it really just took off. So
Yeah, because let's face it, let's be honest. We have always talked about the wellness industry being a little bit or a lot exclusive, and there's a barrier to entry. Like when I go to these fancy resorts and it's maybe a 2-hour facial and it's $450, I think, give me a new head then, if
yeah,
that's what I'm going to do.
sure.
So for you to say this isn't a splurge, but this is a routine that you're trying to educate your clients about, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was really the facials really existed in the spa. So the way I looked at it was if I had over $100 and over an hour, I was getting a massage. I wasn't getting a facial. So it was a very underserved service in the spa. So what I did is I pulled it out from the spa along with all of the overhead that you're paying for when you're paying the over $100 for a facial at a spa. And I just focused on what people really want, which is great products and knowledgeable staff. And that's how we were able to deliver it. And once you get rid of all the overhead, that's how you can make a facial affordable at $50 a facial.
Yeah, and people need to know these are very whitish, pink and yellow accents, very compact studios. You sit in like a barber chair, a really slick,
Yeah.
cool barber chair,
Yeah.
and you're sitting beside someone else. You're not sequestered off,
Right.
but you don't have time to be embarrassed because it's really simple and you just go. Also, people need to know that you are, I don't know, you have about 10 to 15. You have Charlotte, Chicago, Denver, Colorado. Nope. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Chicago, LA, Boulder, Austin, Charlotte, and Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
Clean Dirty Face. You have almost those same cities for air, but
right.
we're talking about the facial studios. So let's get to the first question here. You're in beauty, you're a small business. And let's see, as the world slowly emerges from the pandemic, how has your industry, the beauty industry, been transformed?
Yeah. I mean, beauty in particular, I think what we have seen there is a lot of the trends that already existed pre-pandemic or simply accelerated during the pandemic. So I'll give you an example. Makeup sales, right? The beauty industry, makeup sales were on the decline before the pandemic. And then we saw, surprise, pandemic, and nobody's buying makeup, right? So for me, I think it's actually something a little bit deeper. I think that as we're in a different era now, I think women are in a powerful era. We are confident. We really aren't interested in hiding and covering, which is kind of what makeup has done. I think there's a retreat from contouring your face to look like someone you're not, so I think that there has been a retreat from makeup and instead a healthy focus on, clean skin that can go makeup free. And that's exactly what we saw happen during the pandemic. I think if the shutdowns hadn't happened, it still would have happened. You might have just seen it play out slowly over the next few years, but pandemic kind of accelerated it. And then another thing that we saw happening pre-pandemic is that a lot of wholesalers were going out of business. Retailers were starting to collapse. And so, what we saw during the pandemic, obviously within the first, few weeks is that retail giants had collapsed and a lot of traditional beauty brands that had relied on department stores, for example, as their primary form of distribution channels, they were starting to struggle. They're struggling. They don't know how they're going to sell necessarily their product. And so what you saw an emergence of is a lot of new beauty brands focusing on direct to consumer. So online sales is kind of what started increasing during the pandemic. And as a female consumer, what that means then is you will get bombarded with a lot of skincare ads aimed at you and on social media, Google ads, whatever. So I think we saw a lot of that. And then I think that as we emerge out of this, there's going to be a lot of investments made in technology as brands try to duplicate kind of the key attributes of beauty sales through fiber optic lines. So I think there's going to be investments made in augmented reality, artificial intelligence, skin quizzes, and really any remote way to try to bring beauty to the consumer.
Well, I will tell you, DTC, direct to consumer, I learned, is really huge in the fashion industry too. There was a New York Times podcast, The Daily, about sweatpants forever, and the real change in designer clothes. Nope, it's direct to consumer, comfy clothes now. And I'm a victim. Let me tell you, they got my number. I see the ads all the time. If I don't buy, they remind me to. So I also see with the beauty trend of more natural. I mean, we all want a good Zoom face, right? But I was impressed. One of your campaigns while your stores were shut was your corporate office. The girls taught people, you put the camera on them with no makeup on, and they taught people how to exfoliate, tone, all that. How did you get them to not be embarrassed to do that?
I mean, we just we just kind of regrouped and we said, all right, this is us being authentic. We are all females. We really need to show people how we take care of our skin, and don't be embarrassed. If you need to film it a few times to make sure, you're not that nervous looking, do it. And that's exactly what they did. And I think when you actually, when you start, that's something that's really important to us in our stores as well, is being authentic and speaking to our clients as if they're our friends more than they are our clients. And so, one of the things that I even teach my estheticians when we train them is when you're meeting a new client who's never had a facial before, because people actually experience their first facial at our facial bars.
You're an entry point.
Right. I think like over 50 or 60% of our client has never had a facial before. So, and they discover the facials through us. And so, when you walk in, you don't necessarily know what to expect, and you're not well versed in cleansers, don't know what a toner is. Maybe you're scared of facial oils, and we teach our estheticians to talk to the client like you'd be talking to a friend. So once you analyze their skin, once you consult them on kind of what you're seeing, you ask them questions, speak to them like they're your grandfather, like they know nothing, right? And then I think you can actually, you can break down some barriers and have some solid communication that way. So in line with that, that's how we produce the videos as well. I mean, this is your friend, these are your friends on Instagram.
No, it's real. It's really honest.
Yeah.
These are real girls, girls as well. They're not, not unattainable model types. They're just really normal people. We love that. I know for myself, I love facial oil, but if you don't use it correctly, it will clog your pores. My girlfriend warned me, she's an esthetician. And sure enough, through this, I was like, oh, rubbing it all on, but I saw how carefully they did it. All right, now the next question. Through this all, Shama, what was your toughest day as a leader and your best day?
Yeah. For me, the toughest day was definitely in the midst of the Black Lives Matter protests. And so, for me, I was saddened to see that a lot of our storefronts had sustained some physical damage, but I think that there's a much deeper hurting happening in our country. And while our storefronts can be fixed and our windows can be repaired, I think there's a much longer process that lies ahead in terms of the change in systemic issues that are fueling some of these events. So, as a whole, like I said earlier, I think the pandemic brought to the forefront a lot of really ugly issues in our country. So I think, again, it just accelerated what was already there pre-pandemic, but now just brought it to the forefront. And I think that in the midst of all of that, those were some of my toughest days.
Well, I just think, you're a woman of color, right? You're an Indian
Yeah.
American, and you have to be real about what's happening across the planet with different races of people. And I love in your really bold Instagram, you're always like, what kind of things do you say? Book now. I hate makeup. Be playful. And then you just, instead of clean your dirty face, you put clean your dirty racism.
Yeah.
And I think you have to own up to it and be honest that we need to have the conversation. So that's really
actually
good.
We, through that campaign, we really felt like we just wanted to do something that would drive actual change in that moment, right? Responding. And one of our owners in Los Angeles, actually, they're the ones who came up with the campaign. We leveraged it, and we worked together to roll it out at Clean Your Dirty Face. And we raised I think a little over $10,000 in just a matter of a few hours through that campaign. So I mean, it was great. And
where did the money go?
It was a few different foundations. So if you actually go to the donate highlight page, it will say in the second page, but like ACLU, a few other organizations that we supported as well. But we didn't handle the money. We just had to have everyone show us the receipts, and then we would honor what we promised on our end.
Oh, that's great. Now, okay, that is something, thank you for being honest and sharing, but what was your best day as a leader through this?
Best day. So I actually launched a personal project. It's something that I've been working on for a few years. It's a children's book, and it was supposed to launch in March of this year. And then because of the pandemic, our publishing house closed down. And so I didn't actually get the books in hand until just a few weeks ago. So, in light of everything that happened, I actually decided that I'm donating 100% of the book proceeds to a great children's equity education foundation called I Have a Dream.
So I saw that on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. So that was really just in light of everything that had happened. That was great. So that was probably my best day a few weeks ago. Yeah.
So tell us, what do you think, listeners? There's the beauty bubble in the $4.5 trillion global wellness economy is the biggest. So we're looking to beauty, we're looking to entrepreneurs, we're looking to people of color. So you have a lot to share with us. What do you think we can learn from what you've gone through, and maybe, hate the word pivot, but how have you adapted?
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, I have learned to think very long term. So before, I had a maybe 2-3 year long term, right? And now I'm thinking more 5-10 years, right? So for me, I say don't be short-sighted. I build a company like you're going to own it forever. And I think if you build a company that way, your options are unlimited on the back end. And for our growing company, Clean Your Dirty Face, we're more focused on our continued expansion of infrastructure. So unlike other skincare companies, we actually control our own content and our own distribution. So I kind of be an idiot to not lean a little bit deeper into that. So, in the next few years, like I mentioned, I think the beauty industry is going to see a lot of technology investments, and like I said, in AR, AI, all of those areas. And in the meantime, we're just going to continue building our infrastructure and our distribution channels.
So your stores are franchises, right? They're franchises?
Not all of them, but yes, a lot of them.
A lot of them are. How long were they shut down? What's the longest time in your stores?
Well, LA is still shut down. So Chicago just reopened. 2 of our Chicago stores reopened today. And then we have another one reopening or opening next month in Chicago. But LA is still shut down. There's no end in sight there. So
how do you keep people going? I mean, if it's like we're down, we haven't been working, how do you keep the flame alive?
It's challenging. I mean, we experience such different reopening times across the board. And so in markets where we were able to reopen, some markets were more liberal than others. It looked very different. So as a leader, I decided whoever was going to, reopen, we're opening with these procedures in place. We're not changing it market to market. These are the procedures, and we're doing it across the board. But what was really interesting is when we started coming up with those procedures, everything but one thing we had already been doing in our studios. Everything. I mean, in terms of limiting how many people are coming into the studio, the sanitation, obviously, we're facial bar, so we are extremely sanitary as it is. There's cleanings happening between every single client. Everything was happening. We have paperless options, all of those things. The only difference really was that we're requiring masks and now, and whereas, before we didn't. But that was kind of nice to see that we already were following these protocols.
Well, I will tell you, so many of my friends will say to me, do you think hotels will really do this? Or what if someone's lazy? Or how about a spa? And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is their livelihood. This is their lifeline. Yeah.
Right.
So they're really going to do it. And we have, in our PR company, Swell, we have a client called Pagosa Springs. It's the springs in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Guess what? Colorado is basically wide open, following guidelines. They limit the amount of people. But it's so shocking to know that this part of the country can be like this and this part like this. So we have to be careful. That's true. So as a leader and as you're going through this, looking long term, moving ahead, knowing there's a beginning, there will be an end. What is a book or a podcast or a TED Talk that's inspired you?
Oh my God, I feel like I've emerged out of this pandemic a totally refined person. So I have a great friend who's battling cancer. So I actually read, I read a book called The Cure. I read another one called Fighting Cancer from Within. Learned a lot about how to strengthen your immune system to actually help fight off viruses naturally, which is really important during this time because we're dealing with a virus that we don't have a vaccine for. So I thought those takeaways were great, just from learning a lot about how to navigate when you have cancer. And then I signed up for masterclass, so I am obsessed and I have watched pretty much everything. But my favorites are astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. I watched Bob Iger, who is former Disney CEO, Doris Kearns Goodwin. Who else did I really like?
Talk about the big picture, Shama, right? Talk about the long-term view,
right. And I mean, I really feel like, I'm a curious person. I love to learn. So I've really taken the opportunity to educate myself on a number of different subject areas that interest me. So, I find that everything's connected anyway. And the more subject areas that you do have expertise in, the more complex bodies of knowledge you can draw from to solve specific problems.
Yeah, it's funny. Life is a river, as Deepak Chopra said. So tell me one last thing, because we're going to have to wrap up. But leave us on a high note, higher than we've already talked about high notes. But what gives you hope every day, Shama?
For me personally, I have a lot of clarity. I took the pandemic to really slow down, evaluate, strategize. I knew what I was doing before in terms of strategy was right, but it's nice to kind of refocus and now have this clarity that the areas of focus, such as the infrastructure, are absolutely correct. But for me, there's a definition. So Adam Smith is a philosopher and economist from the 1700s, and he actually redefined wealth as so a country's wealth is not based on the gold that they have, but it's rather what they can produce. And so for me, wealth is not what you're hanging on to, it's actually what you can do, and I know I can do a lot. So I have a lot of hope.
Well, just after our Leader Livecast, I believe that too, Shama, and we're looking at you to keep leading. And it's great to know that millennials, I'll say you're a millennial, even if you're Gen X.
I'm the oldest millennial that exists, but yes, I'm a millennial.
All right. Well, thank you, millennials, for taking the torch. And we look forward to being in touch with you. And now everybody, a reminder, and Shama too, Tomorrow drops the second episode of the Global Wellness Summit podcast for this season, and we're interviewing Dr. Richard Carmona, a former Surgeon General of the U.S. He's the son of Puerto Rican immigrants. He became the top doc in the land after being raised in the Heights, Lin-Manuel Miranda. And the messages he has for us and the common sense solutions for what this beast we're facing will really inspire you. So don't miss it. It drops tomorrow. And Shama, thank you for sharing your wisdom
Thank you,
with us.
Kim. I
Okay.
appreciate you having me.
All right. We'll see you
Appreciate
at the beauty salon.
it.
Okay.
All right. Bye, Kim. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.